Hello, everybody. Welcome to Spoiler Effect, episode number 2.
Number 2!
Woo! I'm David Lott. Joining me is Michelle Hillard. What's up, Michelle?
Hello. Hello, everyone. Hello.
All right, so I know I said that first episode was the only one I was going to put on the Flickr Effect feed. But I'm going to put this one on there as well because we do have a separate feed for Spoiler Effect now, but there's some limitations at this point as of this recording. We're not in Apple Podcast yet, so we hope to be in there soon. So if you're an Apple device user, if you listen to us via Apple Podcasts, that we should be in there soon. But in the meantime, if you listen to your podcast in general via other means, another podcast app, another device, Android or what have you, and you're wondering what our new feed address is, it is spoilereffect.libsyn.com/RSS. Libsyn as in LIBSYN.com. So yeah, if you use a different podcast app, you can subscribe to us via that. But if you're waiting for our Apple Podcast feed, we will have that soon, and we will let you know.
Awesome.
Anyway, we're going to be talking about Halloween today.
Which is very fitting considering it's almost that holiday.
It's crazy how that works.
I know.
It's crazy how they released it like a week before Halloween.
Such marketing. Good job on y'all.
So first, spoiler effect, for those of you who are new to this, we did one episode for First Man before, the idea being where we're going to try to, as soon as we see a movie, basically as soon as we can get home and sit down in front of these microphones, we're going to immediately talk about our thoughts on the movie with spoilers.
Yeah, basically the movie theater to the studio in about 15 minutes or less.
Yeah, however long it takes us to drive home, which we just did. We just got home from seeing Halloween.
The new Halloween.
The
one
2018 Halloween, which is the sequel to the 1978 Halloween. Right. Ignoring the fact that all the other Halloween films exist.
And I mean, they've prefaced that,
yeah,
I think, pretty well, saying basically that everything after the original Halloween no longer exists. That is not canon, I guess.
Not canon to
Halloween.
Yeah.
Right. So this is basically picking up 40 years later from the original. Nothing else in between has occurred.
Right.
I'll be honest, I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that, especially because I'll fully admit I've seen none of them other than the original.
Really?
I don't think I have. If I have, it's been like catching stuff here and there on TV, maybe.
Oh, okay.
But I was thinking about it, and I'm like, I don't think I've seen a Halloween sequel ever, any of them. The only exception to that, but it's not a Halloween sequel, is I saw the Rob Zombie remake.
Okay.
I did see that.
The one in 2007.
Yes.
Okay.
But that's basically a remake of the first film.
Right.
But I haven't seen any of the sequels.
I was just about to say, that's actually one that I haven't seen. I've seen Halloween 2. I saw that one somewhere in my college years. And then H2O came out at the end of my high school years or somewhere at the beginning of my college years, I think.
H2O came out in 1998.
So that was in high school. Let's see. What's the other ones? I did not see Halloween 3 or 4. Yeah, no, I never saw 3 or 4. So I've seen the first one, the second one, and then the H2O, the one that came out. It was H2O 20 years later.
Yep.
In 98. So those are my histories. And I will say, it'd been a long time since I've even seen the first film. I was trying to think about last time I saw the first film, and that had to have been my high school years. So that was the late 90s, if not maybe in college, the early 2000s. So it's been some time, and we revisited that last night just for funsies.
I had seen the original, but it had been a while. And as we were watching it last night, I was like, "Wow, it's been a while since I've seen this."
Dude,
like
me
this
too.
is like watching it for the first time.
Kind of, yeah.
Kind of was, and then I found myself. It felt very familiar, but then at the same time, I'm like, in a way, I feel like a lot of this stuff is familiar because I've seen the Rob Zombie film relatively recently. I mean, when it came out, so it's been 10 years, I guess.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, and since that's basically a remake of that film, it's like, well, it's the same kind of premise, same idea as that is the original John Carpenter film. Huh? But yeah, I'm glad. It was nice. I'm glad we watched it last night too. Because it put me in the mood like all day today. I'm like, I'm going to go see the sequel now. Like I basically just watched Halloween and now I'm like, all right, I'm ready to see what happens next 40 years later.
Yeah. And there were nods through the movie to like, there's like moments of nods through the movie, like kind of not like hard references, but like things that they would say. You're like, oh, they said that in the first one. Like little things like that. It'd be like, oh yeah, they said that in the first one. Like little lines here and there.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
So what'd you think?
Well, quick premise would be that I'm not the biggest horror fan. I don't hate on it. It's just not really my thing, horror films.
Right.
If that, I mean, I watch them. I'm just not like, I think they're awesome. It fills me with so much love and joy. But I will say, like, I liked this. I thought it was good. There was definitely a few things I was like, oh wow. I was surprised that they showed some of the things they did, and then some of the effects I thought were kind of like, wow, they really went there with those effects. Okay, we're crushing a dude's skull. All right, let's do this.
That the first film, the original, we'll say the original. It doesn't. I mean, yeah, it's a slasher film, but it's not a splatter film. It's not a splatter horror film. There's not just like straight up crazy gore in it. And not to say there was so much in this film, but yeah, it took it up below.
It took it up a few notches in comparison to a 1978 film. Yeah, I was kind of surprised by that. Not in a bad way, just kind of like, oh wow, okay, we are going there. All right then, cool. Yeah. Like it was more just like
it was a little more explicit in that respect.
And I will say, like, it escalates extremely quickly, and I don't know. So I don't know. Call me crazy, and this is a spoiler effect, so we're talking spoilers here, kids. So this is here on out. Anyways,
no, say whatever you want.
So call me crazy, but I guess I always had in the back of my head the whole thing with Michael Myers was that, for whatever reason, I guess this was just like me as a kid trying to justify horror films maybe, but Michael Myers didn't kill kids. Like fucked up teenagers, right? Or teenagers that were having sex or something like that, or doing drugs. Big teenagers that were bad. But this quote quickly puts things like that, those little rumors aside very quickly.
I get what you're saying.
Right?
I mean, well,
but I don't think it was an official like rule from the filmmakers.
From my perspective, and I'm taking this perspective of only the original film. In the original film, he's basically hunting babysitters, and so they're all teenagers,
right?
And yeah, in this film, I will say, so yeah, this one kid dies.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's definitely younger. He's the youngest we've seen him kill, but
he was in that pre-teenage.
Yeah.
Like, he was...
Now, it would have been like, and we talked about this off air, about the scene that we saw when we were at Comic-Con in Hall H, which is in the film.
Yes.
The long single shot.
It is a long scene. It was good too.
And in that scene, I remember in Hall H watching it, and I knew he wouldn't, but there's the scene where he walks in and there's a baby in the crib.
Crying.
And you're like, for a second, like, no. Like, I mean, this guy's a terrible person. He's doing absolutely horrific things to people.
He's on a killing spree.
But he kills an infant, and we're taking it to a whole new, this is fucked up level. And yeah, he does it.
Well, and especially because he had just killed a kid.
Yeah, he had just killed a kid.
Like, he had just killed the one kid. And then he goes to this house and kills this woman, and then there's an infant baby, and I'm like, well, shit, I don't know what's going to happen now.
Walks right by the crib, he kind of hesitates, looks over at it, I think,
right.
And then he moves on.
And I will say, here's the thing, like, I knew he wasn't going to do it because we had seen that scene in Hall H.
We'd already seen it.
However, had I not seen that scene in Hall H, I'd have been like, oh, well, I would have probably been upset at that moment until he walked away from the crib.
Right.
I can tell I probably would have been like, holy shit, are they actually going there? Like, are they going to have him kill an infant? Because at this point, I'm probably going to leave this film. Like, if I had not seen the scene already.
That takes it to that level of, okay, that's just too much. Like,
I would leave the theater.
This isn't fun anymore.
It would have been the first film I would have walked out of.
But yeah, I will say I was surprised when he killed that kid. I wasn't expecting that.
I was shocked too. I thought he was just gonna like open the door and like throw him out of the car.
Or the kid would have just somehow gotten away.
Or the kid would just somehow gotten away or something like that.
And he would have been like, fine, I'm not
chasing after an 11-year-old kid. It's fine. But anyways, so no, I like the film actually. And I think Jamie Lee Curtis was really good in it, honestly. I really enjoyed her performance. And I think she captures what it's like to have something traumatic happen to you and live a life based on fear, trying to overcome something that is just haunting you. And unfortunately, you know, she projects that onto her daughter, who then tries to shelter her daughter. So Jamie Lee Curtis. So was it Laurie Strode's granddaughter? So then, yeah. Anyways, so it's 3 generations of women basically all going out to try to survive from Michael Myers killing them. And I thought I liked it. I liked the premise of it. There's definitely moments in the film I was watching it going, really, really, that's the decision you made. But at the same time, it's a horror film. It's a catalyst to get the next scene moving.
Yeah.
And I get that, but there's definitely times I was like, really? That's the decision that was made? Like, some human would actually do that? I don't think so, but okay, sure, fine, whatever. It's a horror film. We'll go there.
I think we disagree on the one that you talked about after the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so as we were walking out of the theater, we didn't really talk about the movie yet.
No, because I knew we were doing this, and like I even said that, and I was like, oh, I gotta stop talking.
But you pointed out the fact that there's that scene where, okay, so was it Hawkins, the police officer?
Officer Hawkins
is, driving the SUV with the doctor in the, passenger seat, and they've got the daughter, the girl in the back.
The girl, Allison, the granddaughter.
Who had just, had her first encounter with Michael Myers. And
she's like traumatized. She just
they're talking about how they're keeping an eye out as they're driving down the street to go to her grandmother's house, but keeping an eye out for Michael Myers, and they see him. And I mean, I will say, like, it's like, here's your chance. I see him, there he is. I'm going to just run into him.
This is your chance to get Michael Myers.
I get that.
I get it, but at the same time, like...
You
the
definitely
logical portion of me thinks, oh, I'm a police officer with 2 regular civilians.
Yeah.
One who literally just encountered him and is completely traumatized right now by what she saw. Any traditional cop would have paused, called for radio backup, and then kept on driving. But it's a horror film, and this is the catalyst to how Michael even finds where the Strode house is located out in the woods.
Now then, while we're talking about that scene, that was the one moment as that scene plays out that I was like, all right, please don't go down a stupid road here. And
I know what you're going to say.
And I mean, don't get me wrong. I didn't for one second think that this was going to be some situation where, oh, Michael Myers is actually dead and like the doctor is taking his place or something. Not at all.
I did for the fraction of a second.
But still, I started seeing this road of like, because he gets Michael Myers in the back seat and then the doctor's in the driver's seat, and I'm like, where are we going with this? I don't know about it. And then luckily it worked out fine. Not for the doctor, but it worked out fine.
Yeah. No, I had the exact same thought. I think a lot of people would have that thought if they're big horror or movie goers. I was definitely thinking, are they just going to swap it now?
No, and I wasn't really imagining that.
I was like, I don't think they're going to do that because.
But I imagine this story though, where the doctor was going to play an integral part to the rest of the film. Like almost like kind helping Michael
guiding
along,
Michael.
Right. And I was like, no, come on, like let's not do that.
Right.
Luckily, that's not how
thank
it played
God.
out. Yeah, thank God. Yeah, I mean, I haven't said yet. I like the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. At first, I obviously had seen trailers. I kind of knew what the basic premise of this was going to be, but still, it's kind of getting started, and you're like, all right, how do you approach a classic? I mean, an ultimate classic slasher film character like Michael Myers, and how do you handle it? Like 40 years later, acting like nothing else has really taken place,
right?
And and what do you do with her character? Like, And I mean, part of me was like, I don't know if at first was like, I don't know if I'd like how they're handling like what she's done with herself. But okay, I guess that makes sense. And in the end, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think in a way it's kind of like, oh, they made her this woman who let it control her life. But at the same time, I liked it because I'm like, I feel like that's how some people would react after going through something that traumatic at such a young age. I feel like you would question a lot of things and you'd constantly be looking over your shoulder. Not just for Michael Myers, but for anybody.
Right.
But
and I think the more I think about it, yeah, maybe the more it does make sense. Because my problem at first was like, well, you know, she's portrayed as she's like the really smart kid in the first film when she's young, 40 years earlier. Which they mention
in this film.
And there's something about how she was having just watched that movie and then going into this, and I'm like, I don't know. I guess I didn't, even though she was lived through this terrible experience, I don't know if this is how she would have handled it. But then when you think back to it, yeah, like there's these moments where she was like the paranoid one, like, oh, look, that guy's following us, or that guy's, you know, behind the bushes. And yeah, I guess it does kind of play into that a little bit. So yeah, I guess it makes sense.
It's a part of her personality. And I think that trauma that she had as a teenager, it traumatized her. It got to her, you know? And anyways, I thought the whole film was handled actually quite well. I think the storyline was handled well. I think there's only one part of the film that I actually had a problem with, and it was these two characters that were doing the research, the podcast. Mm-hmm. Honestly, wasn't really even necessary, I don't think. Like, if I pulled them out of that film, they didn't really serve a major point.
I mean, I guess I didn't really have a problem with them though. I mean, I felt like them doing a podcast is very fitting for now. Like it's something a little different. It's not just like they're not filmmakers. It's a little kind of twist on, oh no, we're doing a podcast and
this is what we do. We research dead murders.
And obviously they provided the kind of, you know, path to him getting his mask back, which, yeah, you could have found another way for them doing that. Like it was at the hospital somewhere or something.
Like it was in like the doctor's office or something.
Yeah,
he was transferring it with them to the new facility. I don't know.
But I don't know. I liked it. I guess I get what you're saying, that you could easily find a way to not include them. And
like literally their whole purpose was the mask. If you really dropped it down to the bare bones.
Yeah, but I don't know. Yeah. At the same time, I like that first scene of them going out and, you know, him and all these other patients are out on that roof, courtyard, whatever it is. And, you know, you see that in the trailer too. And I don't know. I liked how that whole scene played out. And yeah, I don't know. I think I liked how they were included.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. I liked the movie. I was impressed.
Yeah.
Made a lot of money too. I don't remember.
Made a crap ton of money, actually.
Yeah,
it did quite well. But I don't know. What do you think of the ending?
I was gonna say I love the you know, the kind of flip of her landing on the ground, and then he turns away and looks back and she's gone. I'm like, yeah. See, the dude next to me like puts his fist in there. I'm like, yeah, and I'm like, yeah, you're doing it for me because I'm with you, man.
The people next to me, they're like, yeah, and I'm like, so with you right now. I'm like, and the sad thing is like the way they had her laying in the grass, like I knew the way they had that whole the camera shot,
right? I'm
like, that's totally what's gonna happen.
Right.
He's gonna walk away and then he's gonna walk back and she's gonna be gone. And I had a feeling that that's what was gonna happen, but still when that moment comes and she's not on the ground, I was like, yeah, Laurie Strode, yeah. Like, it was just such a cool moment.
No, that was cool.
And that's what I mean. There's little nods throughout the film to the original, and I kind of like that. They were subtle. They weren't super in your face, I don't think. Mm-hmm. And so that was kind of cool. I liked that. No, and I liked the end, honestly. Like, I was surprised that Judy Greer, like, pulled it out there at the end. I was like, hey, girl, that's right.
Yeah.
You protect your child.
Now, I will say there was a part of me, because of the setup throughout the movie, and it was brought up a few times about him speaking. and how he hasn't spoken in 40 years.
Everybody wants him to fucking talk.
And to me, it really felt like a setup for, at the end of this movie, like some word's going to come out of his mouth. I really was waiting for it.
I'm glad it didn't happen, though.
I'm glad it didn't either. I mean, I think it's possible you could have done that and maybe it be handled well where it was effective, but I'm glad they didn't. But I was like, man, there's too many nods to this. Like,
they're pushing it.
He's gonna talk at some point. You watch, and yeah, luckily he never did.
No, that was a small fear I was kind of having as it kind of kept coming up, and then like the moment you're like, they're gonna finally kill him, is he gonna say something? Just one word, even, because even the guy was like, he said one word to me.
Like when he's standing there, like he's like, okay, I'm about to burn, and he's just staring at them, and maybe like a word comes out of his mouth, but no, never did.
Like, yeah, no, and I'm glad, and I'm super glad that that's not how that whole scene played out. But I thought it ended well. I liked it.
I liked it too, and it definitely, obviously, you don't know that he actually died. I mean,
they could totally spin it so that he's. Totally, it could be like, oh, well, we only found that one body left in the house, which would have been the woman's husband / the granddaughter's dad.
Right.
Because he was in the house. Well, we only found remains of one human being in the whole house that burned down. And then they'd be like, what do you mean? What the fuck? There should be 2 bodies. And they'd be like, no, there's only one. See how easily it could go into a sequel? Which kind of makes me sad. I kind of like, nope, this could end. Super okay if this is how it ended. Especially because that last scene of like them in the truck and like the bloody knife next to her. I was like, that's good. Again, another nod to the first. It was like, that's a good one.
Yeah.
It just ended well.
Yeah.
The only other thing I think they could have done would have been to like quickly, like the way the first film ended, do shots at the houses where the murders took place again. That would have been cool.
Wait, what do you mean?
So like the first film, when it ends, they did quick like stills of the houses where all the murders were. Like to recap, like there was murders in this house, there was murders in this house, there was murders in this house. Because the houses, again, in this film are kind of featured. You see each house, like, where, you know. So it's like they could have easily gone to like that one white house where he murders that woman with the infant baby. It could have been another scene of like the one with the granddaughter's friend was babysitting, and then she and the boyfriend got murdered in. Right. And then it could have been a still shot of the last one of Laurie Strode's house as it was standing before the fire. Just as like, you know what I mean? That would have been a cool nod towards the first one. Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
I get what you're saying.
Would have wrapped it up in a nice little bow.
So real quick, I'm curious, your thoughts. How does the first movie hold up for you?
Not that great. I mean, I think it's one of those things like, even by today's standards, I think if I watched this film, I think the first time I saw Halloween, I was like 14. So I feel like even by today's standards, if I was 14 today and I watched Halloween, it probably still would have messed me up. But as an adult today watching it, I was kind of like, this film's rough, man. It's rough. The acting is rough. The script is rough. Like, I will say, I feel like some of the shots and cinematography were really good. Even in the original, there was some really well done shots, like for sure. And the way some scenes played out, I thought were really good. Just the way they played with the light and the dark, and like just their timing of things were really good in the first film. So I will definitely give it that for sure. But the acting isn't great. The actual script isn't super. The actual words they're saying, not that spectacular. And then, yeah, some of the decisions are rough. And it's like you were saying, it was almost like watching it for the first time. Because if I think that, I probably only saw the first Halloween, like from start to end, maybe 3 times in my life. And that was basically like when I was like 14, maybe again somewhere towards the end of high school, and then somewhere in college. And then I'm sure I saw it in the background at like parties for Halloween where I was catching scenes here and there. But I'll be honest with you, like watching last night, I was like, oh, the kids were in the house the whole time. I forgot there were even freaking kids. And it was like, oh yeah, the kids were there the whole time. I didn't even remember that. Like, totally left my mind. And then there's a whole decision that she makes at the very end where she sends the kids out. And I'm like, you're not going with them to leave this fucking house of horror? So I was watching the scene going, no sane person would just be like, kids, you run and I'm going to sit here and catch my breath. What the fuck? No, John Carpenter, I have a lot of respect, but man, really? No.
Yeah, no, I asked because watching it last night, I'm like, yeah, I don't know about this movie. Like, it's classic, and it's also feels like another one of those. Well, you weren't there when it came out, and I mean, it's one of the original slasher films.
Oh, yeah.
And with that said, there's times where the movie even just takes a while to like do anything. It's like you do the constant like hinting at, oh, is he going to be around the corner? Oh, he's watching, and then it just like goes on and on and on, and I'm like, and then the John Carpenter theme is just constant.
Oh God,
and,
yes.
Yeah, and I don't know, but in the end, I was like, okay, the ending is solid, but yeah, it took so long, and then. It is like kind of by today's standards, going back to the you weren't there thing, but by today's standards, it's like, yeah, he killed 4 or 5 people, and it's terrible, but it's like can be by today's standards kind of boring. It's
like it would not hit national headlines.
Yeah, and that's the nice thing. They nod to that in this movie with the one character, some random friend who like is like, oh, like what happened to your grandmother, 40 years ago. It's when you think about it, like with the things we got going on today, it's like, it's not that big a deal, which is terrible to say, but you know what I mean? Like, I mean, we unfortunately, as terrible as it is, we have mass shootings and stuff like that. And,
right.
A movie about like 3 or 4 people were killed. It's like
right.
Oh,
yeah.
And it's like this movie's way of going. We recognize that as much as we're focusing on this event that happened 40 years ago and how terrible it was, it's like a nod to the fact that we get that it may seem silly that we're focusing so much on it. And by the way, it's also our way of acknowledging that this movie is going to go a little farther, and it does.
Like the body count in this is high.
The body count's high, and it's gorier.
Oh, it's definitely gorier.
You definitely see him do things. You're like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of more hidden than that first film, and then you just see a body, and blood.
Right.
Here, you're like, oh no, look at that knife go through her neck. Oh, that's.
Yeah,
okay.
Watch him bash this dude's brains in.
Right.
A few times.
Right.
Yeah. Anyways. But as a whole, though, I would say for a horror film, I like this one a lot, actually. I'm kind of picky on horror films because I'm not the biggest fan of them. So, like, for me to be like, oh, I like it, and I would watch it again, kind of says something.
Yeah, no, I liked it a lot, too. I had a feeling from that stuff we saw in San Diego.
Yeah.
I was like, this looks like this could be pretty solid. And,
well, I think just the way like Jamie Lee was talking about it, and the director whose name is escaping me,
David Gordon Green,
the way he was talking about it, and then also the producer, and I can't remember what he said, but basically the producer of this film is either the son or the grandson of the original producer for the original Halloween. I think it's the son. I can't remember what he said in Hall H, and I'm trying to recall back to this. But just the way he was talking about this film with so much passion. He was saying how this whole franchise has been such a big part of his family and his family's history of film and producing and production and everything, and how this was a big one and this was a main focus, and that his family really held this one close to them, and how much passion he had for this project. I was like, man, this has got to be fairly decent. And he's saying, look, this is going to get you. And honestly, like, this, it's disturbing. Like,
yep.
Yeah. So you get a new home security system soon?
Maybe. It is funny when you get home from a movie like that, and
oh, I've checked the door locks like 5 times.
And you walk into a dark room when you get home to, go put things away or what have you, and you're like, just check the closet. Everything's cool, right? No one's been in here.
Yeah. Check the window locks the night before you go to bed.
Right.
Like, just be like, I'm pretty sure I have all my windows locked, but you know what? For funsies, we're just gonna double check that tonight.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a sign of a good horror film if it makes you think these random things like that.
This is true. Very true.
So,
all right. So
yeah.
I think it sounds like we both enjoyed Halloween.
Sounds like we got the thumbs up.
2 thumbs up.
Good.
That's not our official rating system,
It's
but
not,
we'll go for that.
But I'm just saying, I think it sounds like we're both pretty like, yeah, go see it, man.
Go see it. A lot of people did. Yeah, it made like over 70 million domestically, I think. Box office. 77.5.
I mean, that's high for any film, but that's pretty high for a horror film.
Second largest October opening weekend of all time. I'm reading from Box Office Mojo right now. 3 million shy of the record set by Venom earlier this month.
Huh. Yeah.
Did deliver the largest October opening day of all time, topping Venom's 32.5. It pulled in, well, I don't know. That doesn't actually say, but it made more than that.
That's impressive on a lot of different levels. I'm surprised, but I will say pleasantly surprised. Like, I think that's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Well, with that, that'll wrap up the spoiler effect. Like I said, look for us to be in iTunes / Apple Podcasts pretty soon. We'll let you know when that happens. In the meantime, until that happens, I will include them in the Flickr Effects feed. But hopefully by our next episode, that should be up and running.
Cool.
So, yeah, with that, I'm David Lott.
And I'm Michelle Hillard.
Thanks for listening.